most of the rest of the day. He was.
It's actually not his name.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do usually get a handful of residents. Right, there is growth.
Mike in it? Yeah, he's here.
Am I?
Yep.
Much more, but this is just.
Yep. For sure.
We're getting close. We should wrap up the inside trim this week. And I'm gonna call for an inspection. Maybe start getting stuff moved in. And I don't have everything done, like the back porch and the front porch.
For Christmas?
Oh, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So are all the kids. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
When I think of.
Good evening. Welcome to the Raymond School District number 14 regular school board meeting on this November 18th, 2024. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. This meeting is now called to order. It is 6:31. Please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Allie, could we have roll call of attendance, please?
Ed Robinson,
Here.
Mike Powers,
Here.
Janelle Wise,
Here.
Patty Wren,
Here.
Audrey Kostick.
Here. Verification of public notice pursuant to 19.841 Wisconsin statutes.
Yes. The meeting has been posted in all the usual places.
We move to approve the agenda of this meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We move to consent agenda. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda after review. We'll move to approve the regular meeting minutes from 10/21/24, our October meeting. Approval of special meeting minutes from 11/4/24. And approval of committee meeting minutes from 11/8/24 and 11/11/24.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the 4 meetings. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We move to business and finance, and Ed, you're up.
Treasurer's report is as follows. The beginning balance was $1,094,715.74. Accounts payable $201,421.40. Receipts, $69,820.02. Payroll disbursements, $201,265.04. No journal entries. Our ending balance at this time is $761,849.32. Vouchers and payroll are listed per the agenda.
You have a motion
Do I
to
move?
approve?
Oh, okay. I move to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the accounts payable as presented in the treasurer's report. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we move to vouchers and, oops, we did that one.
School showcase.
School showcase. Miss Brooke Adamczyk.
All right. Good evening, everybody. We have lots of friends in the back of the room. You are waiting so patiently back there. You could not even tell. There's about 20 kids that are less than 9 years old in the back of the room. I don't want to offend anyone if you're over 9 years old, but it doesn't appear that there are many. So thank you for coming, and thank you for foregoing your dinner until you get home. It's only raining a little bit, as you can hear on the roof. But thank you for coming out to celebrate tonight and showcase something that's really important to us here at Raymond School. Ms. Adamczyk is a new teacher with us this year, and she has done an outstanding job getting to know students, families, and just being our sole art teacher here in the K through 8, pre-K through 8 building. So I want to just turn it over to Ms. Adamczyk, and that way she'll have a chance to have the kids come up and share a little bit of what they're doing, and they get to, you're live on live stream, so I'll move the camera here so we can look at what the kids are presenting. So, thank you.
Thank you. So then, all of the students who are presenting tonight, would like to please come up and just kind of stand in a straight line.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Leach.
We recognize that we're giving a handful of students here a live mic and a podium with wheels. So some things could happen that are fun. Just bear with us. So thanks for showing off your mad art skills.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. Good evening, everyone.
Push the button. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight, along with these amazing students, to talk to all of you about the upcoming art shows and have some students show off their amazing projects. They have worked hard on their projects, and I am proud of them all for putting their creative ideas and artistic abilities into their artwork. My students presenting tonight are ranging from different grade levels to talk about their projects. They have learned many things in art class so far this school year. They have learned about value, composition, texture, the color wheel with color schemes, the different kinds of lines, and so much more. The kindergarten, first grade, and second grade art show is on Wednesday, November 20th. The third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade art show is on Thursday, December 12th. And the sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade art show is on Wednesday, December 18th. All of the students get to pick out one piece of artwork that they want to have in the show. It will be an awesome showcase for parents, guardians, families, friends, community members, Raymond board members, and staff to come and see. The students have worked so hard on their art projects, and every single one of them has been dedicated to what they have made in class. They have creative minds, and they bring their ideas to life, which is so incredible to see. Students to tell you a little bit about their art projects that they are showcasing to all of you tonight. Thank you.
I made this with oil pastels, watercolors, using all the new techniques that we learned in art, including blending, shading, different lines and textures, and the color wheel. I'm Ireland and I'm in 6th grade.
Hi, my name is Emily Blame and I'm a 5th grader here at Raymond. Today I'm going to talk to you about my Zentangle of first letter name project. Zentangle is a type of art using structured patterns, lines, and dots. I like this project because it reminds me of a Dr. Seuss book. It took a lot of creativity and focus. I hope we do more projects like this in the future.
I like this. My name's Grace and I'm in 2nd grade. And I like this project because I can use lots of colors, lines, and shapes.
My name is Levi and I'm in 5th grade. I used Sharpies and I used different lines to make this mandala. I liked using all the different colors for it.
I'm Caleb and I'm in 6th grade and I made a pair of sunglasses out of popsicle sticks, paper, and bottle caps.
Hi, I'm Maggie Holler. I'm an 8th grader here at Raymond. Here's my project that I made. Impressionism in perspective. We had done a research on Impressionism and perspective projects and saw ideas of what we wanted ours to look like. I had seen this online and knew I wanted to draw this out and eventually paint it. Once we started the watercolor portion of the project, I knew I wanted to do something similar to the idea of the photo I saw, but still a little different. I had originally thought I was going to do a sunset, but after seeing how much more detail I could add if I did a nighttime sky, I knew it fit perfectly in with what I was thinking for the overall idea of the project. At the end of all of the painting and finishing touches, we got to do an art critique. For many that do not know, an art critique is an oral or written discussion strategy used to analyze, describe, and interpret works of art. During the art critique, it was amazing to see others' artwork and what we each had to say about each other's work. I cannot wait to do similar projects within the future of art class that relate to this project.
I'm Jameson Hartig from 8th grade, and the piece I'm presenting is my Impressionism in Perspective project. The landscape that I chose is a desert theme. The acrylic paint techniques I used were sponging, scumbling, and color mixing to get a lighter value of brown. Something that I am proud of for the outcome of this project is the composition and how it turned out.
I'm Judith Manones. I'm in 4th grade, and in art class, I made this project. We've been learning about collages and shapes. I got inspired, we were making robots, and I got inspired by animals. I made kind of like a robot, and inspired like an animal, and that was it.
Hi, my name is Autumn. I'm in 1st grade. And I like about my peacock feather. I like the oil pastels that I used, and I like mixing the top feathers together.
So as you can see, we've been busy. It's great job, Ms. Adamczyk. We appreciate everything you're doing as the art teacher here. Let's give Ms. Adamczyk a round of applause. And one more round of applause for all of our wonderful artists. By the way, there were many of you that are above 9 years old. There's a lot of 8th graders in there. That's awesome. Seeing everybody K through 8 come in here is really awesome to show off. You can hear the progression and the standards from little K4 language of just initial design all the way through analysis in 8th grade, which is pretty awesome. So great to see the growth across all those years. And of course, it's all on display this Wednesday at our concert and art show. So hopefully you get a chance to come out for our first of a 3-part concert series, because we're a big enough school, we have to break that thing into 3 concerts. So awesome. One more round of applause. And any of the families that would like to stay are welcome to stay. Otherwise, you are welcome to leave and go enjoy your dinner if you're not hungry enough as it is. So we're going to continue with our agenda at this time. And this is for public comment microphone, so please, if you have comment, you can step up to the mic and enjoy it like I do. This one appears to be working, so that's good.
Jeff Peterson.
Good evening, my name is Jeff Peterson and I resided at 8161 3 Mile Road in Raymond for 25 years, attended Raymond School for 9 in 2021. My sister taught at Raymond for 19 years and my father served as a school board member for multiple terms. My immediate family and my extended family have always supported this school and this community. It is appropriate that I'm speaking with you tonight on one of my favorite weeks of the year. It's American Education Week. This week we are encouraged to celebrate all things positive that surround America's public schools. This year's National Education Association has chosen the theme of working together for safe, just, and equitable schools. I'll repeat that, working together for safe, just, and equitable schools. Unfortunately, the school board leadership has spent the last year and a half making decision after decision that clearly indicates their theme has been to exclude, divide, marginalize, and bankrupt this school. Not one time in what Mr. Robinson or other board members have referred to as administrative issues did the Board of Education speak with me in a manner that was just. Instead, they brought personal bias, bigotry, and political extremism to this building. It's unconscionable to calculate the cost that their behavior has brought to this school and community. Not only has their behavior led to extreme legal costs, unaccounted for costs, and borrowing costs, but in my opinion, the costs of losing beloved staff members, legacy families, and star students have made the most impact. Because of a recent probable cause finding, the $20,000 that you spent $30,000 denying me most likely will be favorably awarded at $40,000 according to the rules. That means that you have spent $70,000 taking care of a $20,000 bill. It makes perfect sense why the district has financial concerns. You cannot stay in business if you continue to make those kinds of decisions. Thank you, Mr. Leach, for providing a graphic representation of the open enrollment impact over the last few years. This visual representation clearly illustrates Gwen Keller's failure to manage open enrollment for the good of the school, but instead based her decision on those kids. I ask that the board honor my, and not attempt to chill my First Amendment rights, and I have 2 sentences left. I overheard at the last meeting that we need to move on, but I can definitively tell you that if the examples I mentioned above continue to happen, this school and this community will not be able to heal. It is well known that in an addictive therapy program, the first step in overcoming destructive behavior of the past is admitting you have a problem. Thank you.
DeRay Moonen. Sorry, DeRay. Looks like your battery might be low because like the light is
Okay.
really dim.
First of all, Mr. Leach, thank you for this. I want to continue with what Mr. Peterson had said. I went through and I looked at the situation of what we gave up this year as far as open enrollment. We lost 7 children because of the open enrollment in January from kindergarten to 1st grade because of the behavior of the school board at the time. The families actually left. According to what the numbers were, we lost 43 students. That's $430,000 we threw away that we could have had in this school. There's no reason for that at all. We are here to educate children, and that is our only purpose we are here for. Ed, in August, you stated that the auditors were wrapping up the audit. We haven't seen it yet. Okay, I asked in September for Skyward transactions from 23-24 reporting each individual check paid. Have not gotten that yet. I asked for auditor fund balance due for filing from Wisconsin for DPI. I have not gotten that. Provided a June 30th, 2024 trial balance. You needed a trial balance in order to borrow $300,000 to make a budget. you needed it to make a referendum, and you need it now, you're borrowing trying to borrow $600,000 more, and we still don't have any answers. I'm also looking for the auditor aid calculation certification report and the annual report due for filing from DPI. Those were all requested as of September 1st, and now I'm asking as of the update for the request as of 11/18. And as far as the vendor checks for the list of 6 that were in my original request, I'm asking for all vendor checks for that. And I have also noticed that you keep putting a statement in, it says physical note, the amount turned over to the Booster Club was less than the amount collected for the Booster Club. The Booster Club there was one sentence in there in your statements as to what, if anybody's trying to follow what's going on, you can't. And I'm noticing also that you are only paying bills every other month. That's not, you're gonna get us in big trouble doing that.
Danielle Powers.
Dang, not everybody's 10 feet
It's
tall.
gonna push it in.
Good evening. My name is Danielle. Everybody knows me as Nellie. Recently, there was a request for open records on our foreclosure and taxes. To clarify, we are actively in bankruptcy. We are not losing our home. We are not moving out of Raymond. We are working with an FTL consultant to fix our taxes. This last year has been very challenging for our family. We moved here and right away faced some devastating challenges. Our grandsons faced a lot of trauma. We ended up gaining custody and, well, kind of everything went haywire. I will say thank you, though, to the board, to the staff here at Raymond. My grandson Wyatt is thriving. You guys have been amazing with helping us through this trauma. The support we have received is amazing. I came here tonight and I was rather upset with people looking so far into my personal life. But I'm not upset. I'm thankful and I'm grateful that it happened. Because the support that was shown and it came out really helped us. It's sad to see so many dwelling and not being able to work together. And I wish that we could take the words that Mr. Peterson said tonight with positivity, and I wish we could collaborate together as a community and as a team and put our differences aside. Thank you so much.
So we move now to old business. Mike, referendum update.
Yes. My microphone's not working. That's great. I think it's just me. That's what I'm starting to think. There we go. Thank you. As you all know, we went to referendum, and unfortunately the referendum was not successful for Raymond, and we want to obviously update the community as to where we sit with things and next steps. We don't have everything planned and a sharp plan for what is next exactly, because we have to retool, examine the things that happened with the election, our approach to communicating about the information surrounding the referendum. And it's really critical that many of you in the audience here have reached out since to talk about strategy and talk about imploring an approach that provides the information to all the people of Raymond so that they understand, what exactly is at stake for a potential next referendum question. So we talked all along about our strategy being, we asked a referendum question in November. It was not successful. We intend to ask a referendum question in April. Why is that? How can I predetermine that? Well, there's not a lot of strategies for us to implore outside of that for more revenue. And so we have been clear since the initial time, my time here, that if November fails, that we would be moving forward with an April question. The board still has to decide exactly if a question, how much for the question, and work through some of those details and logistics, but we want your input. So you'll have to stay tuned for some future planning meetings that I want to invite people to. We'll have to hold those at various times so people can, again, provide their input to us whenever possible. We're looking at a time in December, after, of course, the Thanksgiving holiday here, to gather the perspectives of people. It'll be at school here. It'll be a posted meeting. Board members are welcome to attend, and many will, I'm sure. But the goal of that meeting is to talk about what we can do better to get the information out to our public about our needs and the school funding situation we're in here at Raymond. And as you saw in the last election, huge numbers of referendum in the area, and many of them were successful. 78% were successful. We unfortunately are part of the 22% that were not. Over half of the referenda that were operational, like ours was, were unsuccessful. So we do see that referendum have different approval rates. Congratulations to Union Grove High School, and thanks to the community for stepping up for that referendum. We appreciate taking care of the high school kids over at Union Grove, because there's a lot of needs for their facilities referendum. But ours was different. Ours was a referendum that was a question about helping us operate. So we're going to be going into our conversations with the community in December and January, and we'll push those meeting dates out via our website, as well as we have a community email chain now that we've been pretty regularly commenting and providing people who want to know about Raymond, information about Raymond, thanks to Allie, and pushing out our newsletters to people who are interested. And at those meetings, again, we'll have one in December, one in January, and talk a little strategy. We do need to establish a question, if there were to be a question, in that January, February timeframe, so that we can have something on the ballot potentially in April. So we are up against it a little bit, because we know what happens between now and January are the holidays. Things get away from us. So we are, while we're disappointed in the turnout or the outcome of the election, at the same time, from a referendum standpoint, we really want to learn and grow from this and get better. So the goal here is to provide the community with enough information so that they feel like they can make a vote that makes sense for them and for Raymond. So again, thanks to those who went out and voted and took care of their opportunity to cast their opinion on the community here. So that's where I sit with it. I don't know if the board has any comments on the referendum update. So we will share, like I said, a date that makes sense. Partly the reason why we haven't set a date yet is our concerts, as you just heard, are coming up, and we want to make sure we have enough time to enjoy those events and set them up so we don't have crazy busy weeks right before the holidays. So we will get something out for early December, and then again in January when we get back after the holiday break. On to enrollment considerations, class size discussion, and open enrollment planning. Some of you did a great job mentioning the open enrollment chart that was in this month's board packet, and so it's important that we just talk about that a little bit. One of the things we do, and again, it comes up quickly here in January, is we set our open enrollment threshold for the year, and the considerations that we are allowed to make. The conversation starts now. So what I've done is I pulled the policy that pertains the closest to our class size open enrollment considerations. We don't have a class size that is capped here in Raymond. We have 3 guiding principles which relate to class size, program size, and then of course resident students. If you live here, you move in here, you have the right to go to school here. So whenever we're making those decisions about open enrollment, the board has to be aware that obviously open enrollment kids come in from outside the community. We are glad to have them. They are productive students. It's great that we're able to bolster our population and continue to have a class size that we have and a system that we have. But at the same time, we want to make sure we're cautious to not overinflate our open enrollment numbers, and all of a sudden you have classes that 3 kids move into the neighborhood that are all triplet 5th graders. Who knows, it happens. And so those kids move in, and all of a sudden you've got 3 more kids in a class that you weren't anticipating on having a big class size for, and maybe you have a bigger class size than you'd like. I can say too that there's a lot of different research, and people can quote research on both sides of the argument of class size. I think the biggest testament is the quality of teacher that you have in the classroom in front of kids. That's the #1 indicator, but I definitely know that we want to keep class sizes within reason. especially considering that some of our competing interests around us have small class sizes, and they're sort of touting that, whether it's a parochial school or a public school or, you know, a school that's in our particular Union Grove feeder to the high school. So we want to be cognizant of those things as we look forward to our class sizes. So on this particular document, I've done a little analysis of what's in the packet, and basically if the board were to set, and so again, this is just for me presenting to you tonight, nothing is being decided tonight, but the board is going to be chewing on this over the next month or so. The concept of if we had more students enrolled from open enrollment program, what would it look like in our class sizes? So if we cap, and what this says above, and this will be made, of course, you know, ready for people to discuss once the board has a look at it and can discuss it. 20 in pre-K through 5 would be our limit, just with this particular theoretical, and 25 would be our 6 through 8. Those are class levels that are pretty commensurate with districts that are around us. There are some that are more, some that are less. There could be a chance that some grade levels go over then if someone from the neighborhood moves in and wants to attend school here. If someone in the neighborhood that currently goes somewhere else wants to come back to Raymond, they would be welcomed back with open arms, but we'd have to provide space for them. So I would not necessarily recommend maxing each grade level out, but that'd be something that the board could consider. If we just theoretically enhanced our population by accepting the max from this particular formula, what you see here is a breakdown. So explaining this chart a little bit, not applicable because these are 4Kers that are not currently in school. These are still at home hanging with mom and dad. Pre-kindergarten then would be the first, you know, K4. We typically take in about 20 open enrollment students in K4. Right this year we took in 18. So 18 of our 38 kids that are in that particular grade level this year are, you know, open enrolled. So we would establish a little bit larger number at the K4 level. That's great for us. We want kids to come in our system early and then work through our system as if they've grown up here. And so that's the most ideal. Every kid is you know, can bring their skills to their grade levels, but it's nice when we have them for the full 8-year experience. That said, this is pushing then this year's pre-K up to K. There are 38 kids, as I mentioned. So if we added 2, that would put us at 40. So that's how this chart works. So if you look at this chart, bottom line is if you just push the formula forward, there's a 63 student maximum that we would be applying to this if you use a straight formula. Obviously, we know some grade levels have more needs than others. There are times when you have grade levels that feel like there's 75 kids, even though there's only 30 in front of you. There's challenges that come at every grade level, but we want to make sure we address this by talking with our staff through our student concerns process, with our curriculum people, leadership, to say, hey, does this make sense, this number, for a grade level? Okay, sometimes you can base it off of special education population that's in a particular grade level. You want to make sure you're not overextending yourself, so that way you've got high needs and you've got to fill in then with more staffing, which is more expense. This represents, though, 63 times a touch under $9,000 per student. So the revenue is real from this that it could represent. So it's about $8,900 for a regular education. And I'm going to start with, kids are much more than a number. However, numbers matter. And so the number for open enrollment at the current state funding level is a little bit below $9,000. Special education students tip in at about $13,500. So there's an increase in the enrollment formula, but this is not addressing whether these are regular or special ed. There's different implications for that. But just to get our board aware of what those numbers mean, it's really important we understand what we're investing in here. Okay? So again, let's just push forward. You can see our first grade is teeny tiny. I don't know what was in the water that year, not a lot of first graders. But other grade levels are fine. In fact, our 7th grade is 7th graders to the max. We don't really have any room in that grade level. We're already over the 50 threshold, so you'd have 0 open enrollment seats there. So this is just the initial data dump to say, here's what it means. Let's talk through what those numbers will mean for us fiscally as we face a budget shortfall. Some of our budget can be filled with open enrollment. How much? That's for the board to decide in January. I can say this, it needs to be more than 6. So, and I think the board knows that based on the fact that last year's decision was made pre-financial crisis. And so when you make a decision based on the information you have at that time, it can be hard without the crystal ball to make an accurate decision. But I say that hindsight, we look at this now forward to say 63 would be our max. If this scrolls down more, it actually turns out that our new population number would potentially be like 418 with this particular model. So again, when you look at our building, our capacity, we've had as many as 450 in this building, even higher. I think what somebody said like 462 was like 467 was in the heyday. So we know the building can hold in that 450 range of students. So this would certainly not, fill us up to the point where we couldn't have classroom spaces and things. We have a great building here, and we want to make sure we use it. So this is just to get the board thinking. Next month we'll refine this. We'll talk a little more about what that means in our discussions at committee and other discussion points. And I just wanted to put that out there for you as the raw math. Any questions or discussion?
I do have one question. For open enrollment, it typically starts at the beginning of the year, but do we see open enrollment happening throughout the year, like say at semester break or?
Typically, the majority of our kids come at the beginning of the year,
Right.
although the virtual school I used to work at enrolled kids all throughout the year. Every week, it seemed like we have 2, 3, 4 kids showing up. This particular school district doesn't tend to have that trend. You can enroll kids through alternative open enrollment throughout a year, although it has to align within your seat allotments. And so we've already hit our seat allotment for this year, but you can add kids. So let's say we don't add that exact number to start the year, you can still have open seats that kids can apply into throughout the year. And then you work with their school district to grade blend, figure out where they came from, and then bring them into your situation here, depending on whatever grade level.
How many open seats do we have now?
We don't have any open seats. We had seats that were vacated by students that we were able to backfill with students from a wait list. But we did fill the 6 seats that we had open last year. So.
But she had mentioned we turned away a bunch.
Well,
Or left.
we couldn't accept kids that aren't allowed in our allotment. When we put 6 out there as our new allotment of students, it limits our ability to accept new students. So by the board making that decision last January, it wasn't really advantageous for us to being able to have any growth. Let's say we don't fill all 63 seats, and guess what? We will not fill all 63 seats. If we do, buy a lottery ticket, because it's just rare that that happens. But in the event that we do fill those seats, there wouldn't be any available. But chances are we'll fill 30 of them, and then we'll still have 34 seats or 30, whatever the difference is, available from the 63. So there could be students that would enroll throughout the year if there was space in their grade level. And there is priority given to siblings. So if a family is currently here and they apply for open enrollment, we have the ability to bring them in over another student because of the sibling connection. So try and keep families intact with their transportation and all those things. So any other questions? Again, this is just a precursor to the actual decision which is made in January, but I think it's important we put this out there now to start the conversation.
Mike, another quick question, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to add 63 and got 63, would we see our expenses or more teachers required, or are we good?
You could see, based on need, you could see a need for maybe some staffing changes depending on what the needs of those students might be. Ideally, you can handle them with your current staffing model.
Okay.
Expenses, as I mentioned in the referendum communication, teaching 17 kids in a room costs the same in terms of opening that room up to 22 students.
Right,
So
right.
when you run the classes small, you're not necessarily helping yourself from a facilities and spending standpoint.
Okay.
These are students that do not require transportation, so there's no increased transportation cost because their families are driving them to and from school. And many of ours, we're lucky to be next door to a large district that sometimes as people who want to shop school districts. So they're not terribly far away. In fact, we touch a border with, Racine Unified, which is helpful to us when it comes to some of the families coming over. They cross that, I gotta get used to that west of or east of the I thing. That's different by me. I'm not from down here, so.
Different universe.
Different, apparently, that's it. Everything's different, yeah. The Concrete River, there you go. So there you are from the open enrollment standpoint. Just wanted to kind of whet your palate there for some of the discussion for the future.
Very good.
All right, on to our Neola policy first read. Exciting. So part of the discussion you'll hear from the update from Janelle, who's the chair of the policy committee, is that we did our first read. We had quite a bit to catch up on from the last couple of years behind in our Neola policy obligations. So much so that in some cases the policy we were supposed to review now has a revision. So we're getting to that point now where we're catching up and digging out, and we've done some hard work with making sure our policies are compliant. And there's a large batch, there's still a bunch we have to do, but there's a large batch we first read and are going through first read, and then of course our policy has us whenever possible first and second read of policy. There's also something called administrative guidelines, which sometimes goes into the operations then, not just what the policy is, but then how we implement the policy. So that's part of the discussion you'll hear from Janelle tonight.
I don't know that it's as much of a discussion as it is. I don't know that it's as much of a discussion as it is a reading of all of the policies for the first read tonight, so.
Yes.
I will be going through listing all the policy numbers, administrative guidelines. And we broke them into 3 buckets. So the first one is the updated, removed, or new policy first read. So I will run through that list. We have policy 3431 and 4431. You have 6423, 7540.05. Check my accuracy while we're up there. Great.
This is awesome.
8500, 8510, 8540, 8550, 8600, 8640, 8651, 8660, and 8680. Did that say 7544?
Notice that some of these are revised and some are rescind, because some of these are policies that are being recommended to go away because they've either combined with another policy or they're not valid policies anymore based on the recommendations from the owner.
Yep. Okay, so moving on to technical corrections. You can see the list here. So this first one, we have the updated one, thank you. 0100.0 definitions. 0143.1, 0152, 2221, 2270, 2416, 2522, 3112, and 4112, 3213 and 4213, 3216 and 4216, 3231, 4440, 5605, and 8390. Oh, I missed 4231. When they are listed like that, they're generally companions. It's just a different audience that it's addressing, so just to give some clarity on when they are duplicated in a single line item like that. And then the last piece, the administrative guidelines, Mike referenced this. This is really more the day-to-day, how do the policies get implemented into administrative guidelines. So again, you'll see that we have some rescinded, some new, and some revised here. So 3120.04, 3121, 3124A, 3124B, 3430.01A, 4120.04, 4140, 5110, 5120, 5130, 5463, 5605, 6610A, 6611, 6610B, 6611A, 6611B, 7440B, 7455, 7540.01A, 8700, 9120, 9120B and 9160. That concludes the list. There was one, if you look in the board preview, which will have links for you to click on all of these, and you can see every edit in there. It's highlighted in color as you review them for the first pass. There was one that we did put on hold that I did not list tonight, and that just requires further review. So.
And the minutes that were expressed in the approval of our consent agenda contain a little bit of a summary for each of these policies and AGs. So if the public wanted to see it, it's part of the packet in the minutes section of the packet.
Yes, we did include the updates. And thank you, Mike, who sits on the policy committee with me. It was a power session that we had with John and Mike Leach going through the wide array of policies that we had to go through. So thank you for that.
Yes, getting them done, get caught up.
That's all I have. Second read, so next board meeting, we will look to approve all of these. Unless, so I guess first read, if you have any questions or concerns, reach out in the interim.
Great. So, we have a unique delivery here now. We're going to see how this works. We have a person coming from Data Wrangler is going to be presenting with us, Miss Ortel. She is a representative with Data Wrangler. I hope that she can hear us once I turn my microphone back on. But what we're doing here is we're going to hear from Andrea and her company. The company she represents is called Data Wrangler. What do they do? Besides have a pretty cool name, they wrangle data. No, they end up examining our consumption and usage of electricity, energy costs, and they monitor our peak, really it's peak billing, the phenomena of peak billing, and she can explain that a lot better than I, but they'll be hopeful that they can install a meter on our electrical panel. They've already come out and did an estimate for what that would cost, and then additionally to that electrical panel meter, there would be a black box. That black box is the Data Wrangler box. It's the black box for information that pushes it out to their system that allows their engineers and technicians to be able to make recommendations based on our consumption. Where did I come up with this idea? I just dreamed this stuff up. No, I'm just kidding. Where I came from, Northern Ozaki School District has had this program for a number of years. They have experienced success with this program because the recommendations allow you to monitor your usage in those peak ebbs and flows of consumption of energy, and that's how you're billed. So the higher usage, when those spikes hit, it sets your billing rate higher for that moment, and it doesn't ever reset. It just kind of keeps getting higher and higher and higher based on consumption. So our goal is to break down the consumption, have less peak, lower peak, and over time lower our charges from an energy consumption standpoint. So tonight she'll be talking to you hopefully, and she can answer some questions you may have. Okay, so she's got to just join the meeting now. If you want to have her join the link, please text her. Dana's texting with her. She's in Madison. I didn't want to make her drive, so I also don't want to have to speak about this myself uniquely, but I will if I need to. The other good news, though, with this, Fund 50 is how we fund our food services, and we're in a consortium with other districts in the area. And our food consortium Fund 50 account has had some good years with reimbursements coming back from all the free and reduced lunch we had, and the free lunch from COVID. Those dollars roll over year, and the consortium is able to contribute at times to different projects. What I'm working with Jeff Genovese over at Yorkville to do is consider the option that we would have Fund 50, not from our regular Fund 10, but Fund 50 cover the cost of the installed meter. Because it's really going to monitor largely, where does a lot of our costs come from? The kitchen. Ovens, dishwashers, usage of equipment in there. And we happen to prep food for a number of schools around us. I can tell you that I know we're not costing out the energy consumption to the level that we could, because we haven't done that in the past. And so this will help us really do better with the billing and figuring out our true costs. So here we go. Jim Kepi is the owner of Data Wrangler. Hey, Jim.
Hi.
All right. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You can hear me? Okay, so I guess I'll have to fire the questions out if there are any questions. So, welcome. I just have launched you. You're in front of about, I don't know, 20 people or so, and an audience over there, and our board is over here, and I'm right in the middle. Just stay focused. I'm right here. So we can talk a little bit about Data Wrangler and your product, and talk a little bit about what it's doing potentially for us, and then the board will have a chance to ask any questions. Oh, I see Andrea's on here now, so she can pop in as well.
Great.
Great. I'm glad you two are cozy in a nice warm place because it's raining out. It's raining out here, so.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just launched you. I said you're an amazing company that's going to save the world. Actually, what I said was you're going to tell us a little bit about your approach, and then if you can walk us through the estimate you gave, just for the board to consider.
Absolutely. Mike, am I able to share something where the board can see it? Otherwise, I'll just speak to it. But
yes, you can.
okay, let me give it a shot here.
You should have sharing rights.
Okay. Yeah, I just gave this presentation actually at the Midwest Facilities Masters Conference a couple weeks ago, and it's just a real quick overview, but I thought it might be useful here.
Sure.
Let me see if I'm able to share it. All right, let me know if this is showing up. Please don't show this again.
Yeah, we can see it.
Great. Yeah, so a little bit about our company. We founded the company in 2019, and it's headquartered here in Wisconsin. We're a local Wisconsin business. We started working initially with commercial and industrial customers, and actually by accident, we actually started working with schools. So one of board members for a school near you guys, actually Random Lake School District, talked to their superintendent about us and said, hey, you should try this in your school. And that was back in 2021. And since that time, we've seen schools be really successful with this around the state. So now we're in over 50 plus Wisconsin school districts, and we've done over 200 installations, and schools have saved over $10 million on their general funds so far with this program. So we also released 2 new products, which we'll talk a little bit tonight, in terms of characterizing food service electricity expenses, which I know may be something that Raymond School District has interest in, and also a little bit about third-party facility reports as well. So let me go to the next slide here. So just real quick, historically, electric utilities would bill for the energy that you consume. And so in this graph, kind of what the building is consuming there, like the lights and everything else right now, would be charged by the utility. However, in the last 10 to 20 years, what we've seen is utilities are charging more and more for one-time peaks that occur in the month. And their meters measure every 15 minutes and look for the highest peak in the month, which again is shown here. And this is straight off We Energy's website, actually describing how they do that. And what we find is now consumers, customers, are paying a lot more for that one-time demand spike than potentially all of the energy they use in the month, which is crazy to think about. So as an example, and I'll also pull up Raymond School District's bill, but this is an example of another school district. I believe this is Pewaukee School District's bill. You can see that over 50% of their electric bill is from that one-time demand charge, which is more than the rest of their energy charges combined on their bill. And this is a very typical rate structure we see, and I'll pull up, here's Raymond's, one of the most recent bills at the district. And again, you see a similar structure here, if you're following my cursor, where of a total bill of $5,600, $2,600 was actually from energy consumed, and almost $3,000, over half the bill, was from 2 demand peaks. And you can see that demand peak occurred at the same time at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on September 16th. And from that one 15-minute peak, that cost the school, again, over half of their electric bill. So we started this business because we felt that if consumers had the data to understand when and why and how they're setting these peaks, there's a lot of potential savings in terms of being able to reduce that peak because it's now well over 50% of your bill. And so let me go back to our presentation here. And so we saw this. So when schools started to use this program, the before picture of a building envelope here in orange is kind of before, right, first when we install in a new school building a lot of times, or a new industrial building. And the blue curve is 1 year later. So you can see how we've reduced the energy usage, we've reduced that maximum peak in the day, and overall we see a lot of electric savings, and we are able to reduce a lot of energy waste in the building. But we're really using a data-driven approach to accomplish this. And so very oftentimes we will see 10, 20, 30% electric bill savings with control changes and usually $0 changes just by understanding how the building is using power and how the utility is billing the school in terms of for that electric power. So most people don't understand the demand is actually a huge part of the bill. So in addition to that, we also then have been, in working with schools, determined, hey, there's other ways schools can utilize this information on the energy data to drive financial benefit back to the school's general fund. And what we've seen is a lot of schools had, for example, after COVID, excess money in their food service budgets, while their general funds were really hurting for funds. And so we thought, okay, can we use this energy data and can we take this through DPI to say, hey, if a school can verify its the amount of energy used for food service and quantify that on their electric bill, can they pay for that out of their food service fund and thereby save that money in their general fund each month? And so we took that through for DPI approval in 2023, and it was approved. In fact, Mike, I know Josh at Northern Ozaki, the business officer there, was one of the business officers who took this through DPI for us back in 2023-2024 fiscal year. So DPI has approved this, and what this enables school districts to do, again, is to pay for that portion of their electric bill every month out of the food service fund, and especially if a school has excess, it really allows them to preserve that capital then in their general fund each month. This is an example of kind of what a report will look like, where we identify, we go through and look at each individual piece of equipment, and then based on that, our metering data, school scheduling data for school lunch, and other factors, we're able to pretty accurately identify then a monthly electrical cost basis on every piece of equipment. And that factors in also those demand charges, because as you can imagine, a kitchen usually contributes to those demand charges. Like, for example, back on your school bill here, the peak was set at 1 o'clock. Kitchen is probably still running. In fact, they're probably washing dishes at that time at 1 o'clock at September 16th. And there's still a lot of activity in the kitchen. So kitchens are a big contributor to that demand charge, which again, we're capturing with this data and able to then allow schools to have this budgetary tool. One other thing, and this is something more out of interest because I think Raymond School District isn't using this today, but in terms of third-party facility events, we do see schools that have third parties use their buildings quite a bit, and we're able to characterize the electrical costs when third parties use the buildings. And schools can use that whether it's in their Fund 80 levy or whether it's to inform facility rental costs. And we see different types of groups, like for example, for-profit groups using school facilities or community use. And this allows schools to be able to allocate those costs and identify and recover those hidden costs. So in summary, if a school is able to use multiple of these programs, they can save quite a bit. And Mike, I'm going to actually pull up the spreadsheet we did for Raymond School. I believe it was also in the minutes. And so let me just, I'm not showing the right screen here. Let's see. Let me reshare. I'm going to go reshare this. So let me know if this is showing up, Mike, now.
You guys able to see that? Is it small? Do I need to zoom in?
It's small, definitely zoom.
Okay. All right, so, if we take that bill, again, Raymond School District's bill here, $5,600. Yearly electric costs, around $70,000 a year in electricity spend. And again, about half that is the demand charges we talked about. For our energy data as a service right now, we're averaging about a 15% bill savings across all the buildings in our fleet. Again, that's about 200 school buildings. So we would anticipate, as we get the program going, to save on the order of about $800 to $1,000 a month with those approaches. And then we've also seen that food service tends to make up about 30%, and in some instances more. And Mike, I'm curious, it could be more in your building because I know you deliver food also to other school districts and so you guys probably have a lot of food service activity in your buildings. So this would be based on a 30% allocation, but again, that gives you about $1,700 or so of that electric bill that could be redirected out of Fund 50 with that DPI approved program. That gives about a general fund savings opportunity of $30,000 a year. With the fees for our services, which are ultimately $300 and $200 for those reports, $500 a month, there's about a $6,000 annual charge. But the school still takes home the lion's share of that savings of $24,000 a year. So, if those programs are effective on a going basis, you're talking about a 5-year savings opportunity in the six figures, even for a small electric bill of $5,000. There is a one-time installation cost where we put the metering in on the physical metering on the building, and we do the IT equipment setup for $8,000 roughly. A typical, we estimate $10,000, and then after Andrea and our electricians did the site visit, we're able to drive that price down to $8,394. And again, with this savings metric after fees, it's about a 4-month ROI, which in the facilities world, anything less than a year is considered good. Anything less than 6 months is considered very good. So the school can benefit from this in their general fund as early as even this fiscal year, potentially, if you were to start it quickly. I think with that, Mike, I'll take any questions that people have.
My name is Ed Robinson.
So Ed, just tell me that I can tell him.
I can hear him a little bit,
Can you hear him
Mike.
a little bit? If you want to come
Yep.
over. Ed will just come over. It's a chance to stand up.
Sure.
So I know that the peak demand is a 12-month rolling average.
Yes.
So once you identify the savings areas and we institute some programs to cut back, if possible, not always, right?
Yep.
It's probably about a 10-month time frame before you start seeing the savings, perhaps? Is that a true statement, kind of? Or
Good question, Mike. Let me share your bill again, and I'm just going to pull it back up here. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
The electric bill?
Yep.
So Ed, great question. So there's 2 demand charges on this bill. One is the annual, so the 12-month, that is a rolling average, and that is what's called customer demand here. That is about $400. So that one is your annual peak. This demand on peak, which is charged at $18 a kilowatt, that is a monthly peak number. So we want to be looking every month to understand and reduce that demand peak, because that one is worth almost half the bill, right? And that is the monthly demand peak. So you're right, there is a rolling average demand peak, which is the customer demand. That one is and so you can see actually on the September 16th, that is an annual peak. So that one we will not be able to reduce until 12 months from now. But that demand on peak, at the 2,380, we will be able to influence that one as early as, as soon as we get started.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep, okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
And I was mentioning, Jen, that I spoke with our consortium, and they would be on board with covering the cost of the install of the meter.
Great.
Obviously, we've got to see exactly what we get from the data from that before we start to divvy up and look at savings from Fund 50 or paying our ongoing electrical costs out of Fund 50. But at least for now, it's about bringing that overall bill down. So that's really the goal. So our board tonight is hearing this presentation, some of them for the first time, and the community's here as well. Any other questions from the board on this matter?
We do run the risk of maybe not charging enough in the consortium because they're the
That's-
bigger user of electricity.
I can say that's the elephant in the room, that we probably don't charge enough when it comes to consortium agreements and how much we're putting in and other people are, but
Right.
we've got to see what data comes out of this and see how easily you can
I mean, that's how you justify your costs.
justify your costs, exactly. So
Okay.
this would be up for discussion. I'd have to talk with the consortium before I can make any decisions, and there's a process to accessing those funds. So we're looking at probably a board approval at next month's meeting for adoption then in the new year. So it would give us a chance in that December, January timeframe, if the board approves it as a way to go forward, we can look at that and go from there. So the board doesn't have any other questions at this time, so I do appreciate you coming out and sharing your model and the integrity of it with us, and we will certainly be in touch. The facilities team specifically will be in touch with any questions they may have.
What length of the contract?
Sounds great, Mike. Thank you for having us.
There was a question, what's the length of the contract?
Yeah, so I think, Andrea, did you and Mike talk about that? I can't remember. Oh, you're muted, Andrea.
I believe it's a 3-year contract that we put together.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty typical. We'll do a 3-year, and again, the longer the contract, the lower the price. So I think that got you really the best case pricing as well, is to go to a 3-year.
And then if we were to do this for 3 years and for whatever reason decide to not continue it, we keep the meter and we just have it. We don't like give back the equipment. It's just installed and we have a meter then. So it's not like it's something that's going to be, repoed as part of our deal breaking, if that was the case.
Yep, that's correct. Absolutely. Yep. That install price, basically you own that equipment then at that point. Yep.
Then you can look at that meter every day. It's going to be perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate you coming out, and we'll be in touch.
Great. Thank you. Thanks all.
Okay. So there's the data wrangler presentation. As I mentioned, we'll have a further discussion, and I'll, in the meantime, talk to our consortium. There's a couple of things I'm working on right now. I'll be asking our consortium to also consider assisting us with a freezer and cooler potential purchase. And I'll be talking about what that looks like and the cost for those things. The reason for that is, if you've ever been back on a tour of our kitchen, those are 2 areas of high need. And so the consortium will be giving us some costing on that because we can't wait. Referendum or not, we can't wait on some of these things because we need to be able to have an accurate cooling system for our food, refrigerator, and freezer. So that'll be part of our discussion as well. Hopefully by next month, I'll have information on both data wrangler costs and, again, both considerations from Fund 50. So, awesome. Thank you. All right, and then moving on in our agenda, I think we're on to state report card. Marathon. Here we go. So, the state report card is coming out tomorrow. So I put this on the agenda probably a little bit too early. It's embargoed till tomorrow, but I can tell you, spoiler alert, we're excited at the results of this year's state report card. The state report card is something that's published every year. Tomorrow it'll be available on DPI's website if you just Google search DPI state report card. We will do some comparative work. We did a board session a couple of months ago, educating our board on how that state report card score works, what goes into it. Chiefly for us, it's 3rd grade and 8th grade test results that are big benchmarks for us, as well as attendance is a big measurement for us as well. So Ms. Marty and I are working with our leadership team to understand our results. We'll be sharing those results with our staff on Wednesday in our staff meeting. And again, we're happy with those results. I can't unfortunately share them with you because they are embargoed for 1 more day. But that's a spoiler alert, so you'll all go to DPI website tomorrow and check them out. We will be sending home a letter to all of our families this week as part of our normal correspondence, discussing and celebrating the things that are worth noting about our state report card. The score is a good one, and so we just want to make sure everyone understands, what it means for Raymond. When people are shopping for schools, sometimes those things come into discussion as you're talking with realtors, or people are looking at, hey, is this a good option for my kids? And it's important that we understand what that report card is. Hence the couple months ago workshop And then, of course, next month we'll have deeper analysis. Once we can dive in, we'll be doing comparatives to all of our surroundings as to where we sit within this west of the eye world. So that's how we have it for tonight. So I apologize, we won't be able to present a whole lot with that. I'm sure you're really upset because this meeting's very short. So, that said, Dana, did I miss anything? No? Okay. Good. Thanks. All right. Go ahead.
We move on to committee reports. Facilities Committee met on 11/8. Ed, do you have a report?
I don't have a formal report written, however, the majority of the meeting, 2 meetings ago when the Facilities Committee met, one of the things we knew we could address was energy usage and perhaps some savings. And we've talked about going to LED. Bob is working on that diligently, and where he can, he puts in LED bulbs to replace some of the higher energy usage bulbs. As far as I contacted We Energies, they have nothing. Mike, in his experiences in the past, contacted the Data Wrangler. They came in, we discussed, we took a tour, we went through and talked about all the things they talked about tonight, and they were going to put together an estimate, quote, and an estimate for savings and all of that. Obviously, we've got that now. So we will move forward with that and have discussion and decide whether or not there's a value to that, which I believe there is. I think that going forward too, you know, there are some really neat things in the world when it comes to like the freezer and things of that nature. You can get free hot water off of those, things of that nature. So we have some further digging to do on some of that stuff. There's no golden egg out there, but you just keep chipping away, and it's just the right thing to do. So that's where we stand at this point.
Yeah, I have a question. How old is their freezer and cooler? Do you know?
I don't know.
Does anyone know?
How old? I want to say 25.
Yeah, I think that was.
But there will be a full analysis going on in the coming weeks, because we're looking at a cycle of, okay, what's left on the life of these, and then what might it look like if we did one or both in a replacement, and then cost of those things. So that'll be something that gets to the board probably by next month if we're swift.
Okay.
And the heat and everything's working as planned?
Yes, we turned on the heat.
Here.
It's hard. Wisconsin, you know, it's one of those things in a household. Some households are like nothing. If it's not below 60, you're not turning that heat on. That's where I grew up. But here we try to rule because it's kids, little people, and our staff really, you know, don't like wearing jackets all day long. So we try to keep things comfortable. Bob does a thermal check every morning, temperature read in each of the classrooms. He does the different locations. There's a few spots he checks that he knows are sort of our areas where it may be variant in temperature, but does that every morning just to make sure things are good. He fired up the boiler about 2 weeks ago now, 2.5 weeks ago. I think Mrs. Marty was the reason, but you know, it was the last straw. She said, "Come on." I don't even think you mentioned the kids. You just said, "I'm cold." But the kids did a great job, and again, we say that not jokingly. We want to make sure we're cost effective with it. We have a system that is an oldie but goodie, in that once it fires up and rolls, it rolls well. It just takes a little time to get it fired up. So it's rolling now, and we appear to be in good standing. We have our initial pump and backup pump both functioning appropriately, so if one was to go, we are backed up. We have kind of worked through that from years past, so we're good on the boiler.
And odorless?
And we are odorless, thankfully. Well, not all day long, because sometimes kids make odors, people make odors, but we are not odoriferous like we were in the past, so.
Okay. Policy Committee, do you have any more to say regarding that?
No, we did a lot of catch up, and I think we're waiting for around 34 updates and getting back together sometime in January.
to administrative reports. Mr. Leach.
Yes, I'll keep mine short because a lot of my things will be mentioned, and I've been told I can't steal from them all the good things that are going on here. But I want to thank Brooke Miss Adamczyk for her presentation tonight. Nice job. She's doing a great job as a first-year teacher. We have some new staff here this year, and they're doing an outstanding job, you know, stepping into the role of teacher, learning our systems, finding out the Raymond way. Our staff who have been here, the veteran staff we have, are phenomenal in helping and adjusting and figuring things out. This week we'll have a staff meeting where we will be reviewing our results of our initial culture survey. We also took a calendar survey, which is really just telling me what your favorite month is. It's actually not. It's helping us figure out how to handle our school calendar, days of contact, things like that, trying to get input from our staff. Where I came from, that was done on the regular, so we did a calendar survey as well. So we've done that. We have a culture survey, calendar survey, and then we also have the state report card we'll be reviewing at our staff meeting on Wednesday. It's been also great to see some of the inner workings of the school. Got to attend the Washington, D.C. trip meeting, which was awesome. A lot of families came out for that. There's going to be a great crew this May going to the capital city and checking things out, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Great energy around their pie fundraiser, which is yummy and hopefully lucrative for us, so it's been good to see that rolling. And of course, our PTO, got to give them a shout out. They've been so supportive trying to find things to help with around here, and you'll be seeing some of the fruits of their labor at our concert, with the art show, etc., because things they were asked for by staff that they're able to grant. So thank you to PTO for their generosity. We also had mentioned, was mentioned tonight too, the booster discussion. We are in the process right now of working through the filing of the 990 report, which is due to the IRS, and they're actually, the old board is handling that. I'm not, because I shouldn't have to. It's their particular document from last year. So we are finalizing that particular submission here shortly. So thanks to a parent who's familiar with all the tax things and has that background, that's willing to file those necessary reports for us to make sure we're in compliance with the federal government. So that's what I have from Superintendent's report, and I'm sure you'll hear more from our leadership team.
Okay, Ms. Smarty.
Okay, I'll also try to keep it short. It's getting late. So over the last month or so, we've really been focusing a lot again on that Act 20 right to reach legislation. And Zoe and I were able to put together a website, or a page on our website, that actually has a lot of the information, and we had to make sure that it fit all the state requirements of stuff we need to communicate. So if you go under district, you can see it. Maybe Mike is going to show it to you. Right, actually, right there, it's got its own Act 20 right there. It kind of talks about the things that we're going to need to be doing, the creation of reading plans for students who are below the 25th percentile. That will be starting in January, but we will be starting our testing in December. So we kind of did a dry run in the fall. We feel like we're in a really good place for January. We still have some training to do. All of our, as I've mentioned before, all of our K through 3 teachers, regular ed and special ed, need to have this. They started out with letters training, but now it's really a phonics-based training. And we were able to find the Rollins Institute, which offers training for free. So we will be taking advantage of that. We do have to pay teachers for their time, but we will be doing that, and we should be all set. A couple other things we're about to, we started a homework club for 6th graders. Once a week. I know it's been tried here before, but we thought we'll try it with 6th graders and we'll scale it up from there if it works. So a couple kids who need extra help with math and that kind of thing is out there. We are piloting now in social studies. We've moved away from our first pilot, which was Newsella. Now we're on to Savvis My World. And again, Savvis is the company we use both for science and ELA. And then some people will be happy to hear we will be having the forensics team again. This year, Nina Fiegel, one of our new teachers, will be taking over, and we will make sure we reach out for help.
Yeah, no, if you need help with judging and stuff, let me know.
Absolutely. It's going to be here for the in March.
Yeah,
So
I judged for I judged for the middle school when it was Stacy Stock years ago,
Yeah.
and I judged for the high school for, I don't know, 10 years.
Well, you can be judgy here at Raymond this spring.
Yes.
Because it's gonna be here.
Yep.
We kind of had to have a team. It definitely forced the conversation because you can't host a meet and not have a team. It doesn't make sense.
Oh,
So-
it's your year to host?
Yes.
Correct.
Oh.
So you're it. No, just kidding.
No.
So there you go.
Whatever you need, whatever you need.
Thank you.
Mike has my information, so.
That's it for me.
Okay, move on to Dana students. Mrs. Brockman.
I tried to keep it short, but there's a lot of fun things happening right now this time of year. So I just want to start by saying Mr. Jake Berkholz is back today. His wife welcomed a healthy baby boy 2 weeks ago, and we were happy to have him back. And Mrs. Kessel also returned today from her maternity leave. We were happy to have both of those staff members back with us. I know we've talked a little bit about the food drive, but I do want to give a shout out to Mrs. Klein and Mrs. Adamchek and the members of our student council for their hard work promoting our November food drive, which benefits the Racine County Food Bank. We've got this friendly competition going in the school right now between homerooms, and so far our 7th grade homerooms continue to be in the lead with the pizza party on the line, so they're pretty excited about that. The musical auditions wrapped up, and students have been assigned their parts for the upcoming production of Beauty and the Beast this spring. Thank you to our musical director, Mrs. Walsh, and our acting coaches, Ms. Fiegel and Mrs. Johnson. We also want to thank Julia Childers, who's going to be the stage crew boss, which is just a cool name in general. 8th grade, believe it or not, they are preparing for high school already. On December 2nd, we have parent night at UGHS, so if you have an 8th grader, make sure you attend that. Emails and information and stuff have been sent home already to families. December 4th is Bronco Experience Day, where our 8th grade students are going to spend the entire day at UGHS learning about the high school schedule and the elective areas and things like that. And then on December 20th, the high school counselors are going to visit us here to do, to have the 8th graders complete their scheduling business. As you know, I'm just going to say it again, we have our first concert and art show this Wednesday featuring our youngest learners from kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. We hope that you all can join us for this 6 p.m. show, which is open to the public in the evening in the gym. Speaking of that, our PTO PAC has been working really, really hard to find us sponsors for so many things. They just finished their first round of sports apparel with Ruma. They found Dover Flag to sponsor flags for all of the students, and a new American flag and Wisconsin state flag for the front of the school, and this was all done in honor of Veterans Day last week, where we also gathered together for another all-school assembly. They found to sponsor the concert, Blizzard Lighting, Auntie A's Sweet Treats, and Walmart are helping sponsor the concert this year. At the concert, we're going to have the concession stand open, and those funds made at the concession stand will go back to the musical art show, and those donations are thanks to Piggly Wiggly in Union Grove, Community State Bank of Union Grove, Good Little Cookie Company, again, Auntie A's Sweet Treats, and Walgreens. We also had some amazing art sponsors, 7 Seas Creative Space, and the Depot Tavern and Restaurant, all sponsored Miss Adamchek's art show that's going on. So all of those things were possible because the PTO goes out and finds all of those sponsors for us, so we are so thankful for that. I'm also really excited to share that the PTO has purchased lighting and sound equipment this year through the sponsors rather than renting it every year, so those are things that now belong to Raymond School that we can continue to use and continue to build up over the years. If you want to help support Raymond School, you can go to a couple of our dine out nights that are coming up in December, on December 5th at Georgie Porgy's. If you dine in and mention Raymond School PTO PAC, we'll get a kickback. And then also Jersey Mike's, December 16th through the 18th, they're doing a kickback night as well. The blood drive was mentioned a little bit. I just want everybody to know it's on December 7th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. I did put some flyers by the door, but I think some of you have already walked in by the time I arrived, so on your way out, feel free to grab a blood drive flyer. And the last thing I want to say is our next senior breakfast is Wednesday, December 4th at 8:30 in the cafe. So thank you so much.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Georgie Porgy in Racine or
Oak Creek.
the one in Oak Creek?
Ooh, I think it's the one in Oak Creek, but let me
Okay.
look back at my email and let you know.
That's usually where she has it.
And I'm guessing it's probably that one.
Okay.
Just check. Does not specify in the last email that I got, but I will clarify and post it on Facebook. Does that sound good? Okay, good question. Yeah.
Or you could just plan to attend both. Georgie Porgy's that night. That's a lot of Georgie Porgy.
Lunch and dinner.
We just want to make sure we get that kickback though.
Okay.
Okay, we move on to board member comments.
That sounded really,
All right.
why don't you turn yours off? I think yours is
Oh,
on.
maybe me too. Okay, there we go.
All right, try yours now. Okay. Much more peaceful.
Are there any board member comments?
Well, I would like to just say that, Ms. Adamczyk, I appreciate you bringing your students today. That was great. And, you know, and I'd like to almost say that, and I know this is probably a lot, to have students here showcasing something every board meeting, it not only just is good for us and good for the community, but I think it instills in kids public speaking, which is so very important these days. So, great job.
Thank you.
We plan to, and have already started a sign up for staff to volunteer, and some will maybe be voluntold, but for the most part, they've stepped forward and just said they absolutely would love to show off the great things going on. So I agree. We've got awesome kids and great staff.
Yeah.
To just add that, it grounds us here and what we're all here for, right? So, I love it too. Welcome to see it back.
I just want to say, thank you to the staff and then leadership team. I've been in here quite a bit the last couple weeks between policy, facility, and just about every other meeting I could figure out to get here for. And just picking up the grandson and that, and the staff, the administration, everything. It's just wonderful to see everyone getting along. The culture in the school has been really good. All the kids are just seeming happy. My grandson, like my wife said earlier, is loving it. Even though in the morning it's kind of hard to get him up to get on the bus, but it is just really great to see. And if anyone ever has a question of me, especially about my personal life, feel free to ask me personally before going and smearing it. I am an open book, as most of you know. I am willing to talk just about anything. So come up to me and talk to me, and then feel free. I will give you your answers. Trust me.
Anyone else? Okay. Announcements and correspondence. Mike, do you want to address the convention?
Sure. The WASBA State Convention's coming up in January. We usually send a couple of interested board members to that event, myself included. We attend and work on a variety of topics to gain knowledge and connect to the outer world of schools and school function. So every year, there are resolutions that are put out by the state. I'll be reviewing those resolutions and working with our board to recommend adoption of resolutions or deny. So either yes or no, yea or nay to those resolutions. That'll be coming hopefully in December. The resolutions have not been released yet. So as soon as they're released, I'll release them to you with some commentary, and then we can make recommendations for Mike, who's the delegate this year, to go to the convention, at least to that session, and sit in for us and represent the board's feelings. So watch for that information. I did send an invite out via email to the board.
What dates?
Oh gosh,
January.
it's January.
20th or 21st to the 23rd, I think.
Yes,
Something like that.
it's the 20th-ish, the 20 to 23rd, I think it is. And it's in Milwaukee.
Okay. Scheduling future board meetings. We have board workshop scheduled for Monday, December 2nd at 5:30 PM. And we have a regular meeting scheduled for Monday, December 16th. However, I am looking to possibly move that meeting, if possible. Board's in agreement?
So when? Do we have a new date?
Tuesday, the 17th?
Right, due to the conflict?
Yeah.
So Tuesday, December 17th, 6:30?
I'm checking my calendar, am I looking at my breakfast?
It becomes a little bit time crunches, as you know, with the next week being holiday extravaganza.
We don't want to go to the next week.
Yeah.
Yes, no?
I can make it work. I'm good.
I'm good.
Sweetheart, what'd you say? Yeah, that's.
Let's just check with the boss.
Check. That's.
My wife's probably watching the live stream. Honey, am I available as well?
She knows more of the dates than I do, and we got a calendar at home so I can see them physically. I gotta learn how to put them on my phone.
Okay, so we're in agreement to move it to the 17th, Tuesday?
We will put that on the calendar then and promote that as the new date for the regular school board meeting in December, Tuesday, December 17th, 6:30, same place.
Do we know the topic for the workshop in December?
Board workshop will be a training on open meetings law. There will be a webinar that we all get to watch together and learn about regarding open meetings.
Is there any possibility, I know Mike and I have been struggling to get, I'll just implicate myself here. I know I've been struggling to get here by 5:30, now that I'm back in the office, and that happens to be Cyber Monday, which is a really big day in retail, so any chance we could start at 6:30 and adjust our times back? Knowing our commitment.
You know I have got a problem with that. I hate.
I'm fine.
Board 6:30 instead of 5:30 due to Cyber Monday and Kohl's being busy. Kohl's, you should go Kohl's.com.
That's fine.
Kohl's Cash?
Burn it, yeah.
All right.
So Monday, December 2nd will be moved to 6:30 PM and the topic will be open meetings law.
Thank you.
Okay.
Audrey, can I ask one thing? And if you don't have the information, that's fine. I think normally at the November meeting, you would mention and say the rules around who is up for re-election or election, and then what the time frame is to submit paperwork, which probably
Sure.
starts December.
Their advertisement is going in the paper on November 21st.
Brilliant.
And so we have been posted for the Westing, which is wonderful. Thank you for bringing that up.
Perfect.
We have 3 board vacancies in the coming election due to the cycle of some midterm shifts of people's school board tenure. So the 3 positions that are up are Mike Powers' position, Patty Wren's position, and Janelle Wise's position. And if you're interested in submitting paperwork, July, no, that's the wrong month. January 7th is when you have to have your submission in. I have a handy dandy booklet packet, some information. If people are interested, it's available in the office. Allie would be more than happy to take your information down, give you a packet and a bulletin, and we can certainly talk through any questions anyone in the public may have. And then January 7th is the due date for that submission.
What's the earliest?
The earliest?
Yeah, is it, there's a December 1st or something?
I want to say December 1st is
Yeah.
the opening of it.
Okay.
So well, December 2nd, I would say, it's a
Yeah.
Monday. And so if you want to turn it in as early as then, if you have an interest in it now, we can certainly have a conversation too, because you never can start your research soon enough. So if interested, please approach me and let me know. And then January 7th is the deadline.
2 3-year terms and one year term?
I think they're all 2 or 3 year?
2 or 3 year,
2 or
and
3.
then one is for 1 year for
Because
the
there is a
basketball
midterm, yeah.
amendments.
That must be, yes, there's 2 3 years and 1 1 year. So I'll have to make sure we clarify that in the publication. So 3 year, 3 year, and 1 year,
Yep.
because Amanda's would be 2 years through her term.
Yes.
So you're finishing her current 2nd year.
Yep.
That's why there's 3. Okay,
Can I just clarify, it is Georgie, 4Gs, and Oak Creek. I just got confirmation. I know you guys are all on the edge of your seats.
okay.
What about Jersey Mike?
So
That one is.
we're clear on the board vacancies. Thank you.
You taking me to lunch?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to move to closed session. The board may convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851C and F. The Board of Education may move into closed session for the purpose of discussion and potential action regarding the employment of an individual staff member, which may involve disclosure of employees' performance and health information. We will convene the closed session in the main office conference room with a plan to return to regular session in the cafeteria upon completion. Do we have a motion to move to closed session?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move to closed session.